What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Great Encore. I am your host, Ben Schneider, joined as always by my co-host, Brandon Crossland. Brandon, how are you today?
Doing well, Ben, and we have to say happy birthday to you because it is Ben Schneider's birthday, and for that we are all celebrating this Motor Monday, and it just so happens to fall on the day of Great Encore, so welcome to work.
Yeah, well, I've been telling people, this is the true sign of adulthood. This is my 26th birthday, and you've been on your parents' insurance plans. You probably know that that's when you get kicked off. So that's been fun going to HR a couple of times over the last couple of weeks to try to get that situation, my benefits plan squared away and everything. It's the true sign of adulthood. Like I said, you go from looking forward to your birthday every year to just kind of not caring about it anymore to now actively
being afraid
dreading
of it, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. And your driver's license, gets renewed every year or every cycle of however many years it is on your birthday. So when you get to be this age, it ends up being, kind of adult sort of things that take place, and all the age related milestones are like, oh, I can't believe I'm X number of years old now, instead of, now you can do this, now you can do that, now you can drive a car, now you can buy a Budweiser or can of beer or alcohol or whatever, or you can vote. Now it's just it's another year and you can't believe how fast the time's going by. But I appreciate all the birthday wishes nonetheless, and it's actually been quite a great birthday for me. Lots of stuff happening in the sports world today. I'll share more about that in my final thoughts here, but Adam brings up one of them right there. Happy birthday, Ben. Pretty cool seeing Philly get a WNBA team in a few years. Yes, I've already put my time off in for May of 2030. I will be there for opening night. I can promise you that. And congratulations to Cleveland and Detroit as well, who picked up the other two expansion franchises. But this isn't a basketball show. This is a racing show. So let's get into the series that we normally cover here and a couple of other things we want to talk about tonight. Before we do that, as always, I would like to give a shout out to Grid Network's Patreon investors, Colin Deschelle, Mark, Robin, David, and Matthew. Thank you so much for continuing to support what we do at the Grid Network and helping us build this motorsport media outlet. And if you like what you see tonight or what you see throughout the week here, as you stay tuned to the rest of our programming, you can consider joining them through the link in our description box below to our Patreon page. Or if you'd rather make a one-time tip to us instead, you can visit the Buy Me a Coffee link also in the description box below. If you're watching us on YouTube, we also have super chats enabled as well. Now, let's start with the NASCAR Xfinity Series race. We were at Atlanta Motor Speedway this week, and apologies, I think I just dipped there. Do we have connection again?
No, we're good. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Usually the internet's pretty good in my office here, but apologies if that happens again here. But Nick Sanchez, congratulations to him and Big Machine Racing on picking up that win. And I've got to confess, kind of forgot that Tyler Reddick had already won a race for that team. It's not the team's first victory, but it is their first with an Xfinity Series regular behind the wheel. Of course, they probably should have won that Roval race last year with Parker Kligerman, one of two recent heartbreaks for PK. But Brandon, in light of that, what does this mean for Big Machine Racing, that number 48 team, after the heartbreak of the Roval last year, and for Nick Sanchez and momentum going forward in the rest of his Xfinity Series season?
Yeah, it's huge for Nick Sanchez's career and also for Scott Borchetta and everyone there at Big Machine Racing. It's close to my neck of the woods here in Middle Tennessee, where a lot of their home base is there with the whole spiked coolers and Big Machine records, Big Machine Racing, and all of that. So it's neat to see them finally get some success here with Nick Sanchez. And yeah, I hate it because of last year, all those close opportunities for Parker Kligerman there in the 48 just wasn't meant to be. But and just the having to go to overtime there at Charlotte, doing him in last year. But it was good to see that for Big Machine Racing and everyone there involved, for a team that's not exactly one of the top three in the Xfinity Series, or maybe even top four. But good to see a team like that. I got to win at a place where you can do it, like EchoPark Speedway.
Yes, of course. EchoPark, now the entitlement sponsor of the former Atlanta.
That's what I meant.
I guess we could say yes. Well, I was correcting myself because I'm still going to probably call it Atlanta, half because I'm going to be forgetful, and the other half because, that's just in my nature. My editor-in-chief at NASCAR, Brock Beard, still calls it Sears Point. We'll be heading out to Sonoma here in a couple of weeks. That went through a title sponsor with Infineon now it's Sonoma again, but the locals out there still can't stop saying Sears Point, but who can blame them at the same time? But yes, as for Nick Sanchez, a huge weight off his shoulders and off of Big Machine's shoulders as well, I'm sure. Like we said, the heartbreak of the Roval last year still is painful to watch. Literally, I don't even know if he was feet away, inches away from taking the white flag. Parker Kligerman was, and just wasn't meant to be on that overtime restart. But as for Nick Sanchez here, surviving a bit of a chaotic race. We had a rain delay. I actually went out to see the F1 movie in IMAX, and I'll get into that on this show a little bit later here as well. So I got back and was a little surprised. I saw a tweet from Colleague Racing saying 20 to go, and I assumed the race had been delayed but was almost over. I had missed until I read it the second time that there was 20 to go in stage 2.
Right.
It was certainly a late night for all of us watching the Xfinity Series race there, but well done to Nick Sanchez, and go through some of the rest of the top 5 here. Carson Kvapil continuing to knock on the door of victory lane. Sam Mayer, great run for the Haas factory team. Connor Zilic, he had a great run in the Cup Series race as well. Got another opportunity at 87 for Trackhouse. And then Taylor Gray picking up another top 5 there as well. And shout out to some of the underdogs who snuck into the top 10. Kyle Sieg and Jeremy Clements, great runs for them at Atlanta / EchoPark. See, there you go. Just doing it right there as well there. So good runs for all of them. Unfortunate for a lot of these cars towards the back that got taken out in accidents. And Brad, I don't know if you have any thoughts on what we saw during the Cup race as well. That was kind of the big one we've seen at Atlanta. I think everybody thought that might become the norm once we went to this configuration, but really hadn't seen anything to that level until this weekend here. But what were your thoughts on the racing that we saw as we're now in year 4 of this new configuration experiment that we've got here?
Yeah, it's got plenty of entertainment value to it. I just hope that, main point is I hope that true what the measure of what good stock car racing looks like, I hope it doesn't get lost with the excitement and entertainment we get from a race like this. This is good to have in your palette. This is good to have as a part of your season. And a lot are correct in saying it races like old Daytona, or maybe how we wish Daytona raced today. This would be a fantastic product at Daytona International Speedway. I really like what we have at EchoPark Speedway now in Atlanta. Year 4, like you said, into this reconfiguration, upping the banking. And you and I despised changing Atlanta from what it was, but I'm starting to understand a little bit why they did it, and maybe how the results that they were looking for maybe weren't going to come in 2022. And they were waiting for this aging process to find this sweet spot that I think we're finding right now. And no, it's not what I want done everywhere. I'm not saying that when I say I like it, but I'm saying it's a good piece of it's a good flavor in your ice cream parlor that you need to have for the season as a whole. And I think it went really well. And no, it's not because NASCAR's most popular driver took the checkered flag, but I won't mind that every now and then. I like the sport getting some really good seasoning every now and then like that.
Yeah, I am obviously not a fan of big accidents, and that's just kind of a byproduct of what can happen when you have this style of racing. But I do agree with you. I am warming up to it a little bit. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's the greatest track on the schedule. I know a lot of people have been saying that in this past week, and I still think your traditional mile and a half right now, or at least for the Cup Series, what are putting on the best show. But to your point, Brandon, I think I still miss the old Atlanta, and I wish they would have done this hate to throw Texas under the bus here, but I think the reconfiguration that track had go through several years back was not nearly as successful or not nearly as popular. And I would have much rather seen, if we were going to do this, them do it to that racetrack than what we had Atlanta. Atlanta absolutely needed a repave. It was time to do that, but I wasn't a fan of reconfiguring it. But on that note, I'm not saying go back and do it now. I don't think we need 8 of the 36 races on the Cup schedule, or 7 of 36, whatever it would be, to be drafting style. I mean, you're getting close to a quarter of the schedule at that point. I think we can be happy with this Atlanta experiment where we are now, and as the surface starts to age. But that doesn't mean we need to go do this to every mile and a half every time it is time to go ahead and repave those.
I will say this. I think this is the first time, Ben, that I've seen maybe like the consensus of the broadcasting crew kind of push more of the narrative of old Atlanta actually wasn't that good anymore. And like, this is this was good and right. This is where we need. Do you hear that though? They're kind of pushing that opinion upon the viewer of like, it was really a driver's track. It didn't, it wasn't really exciting until those classic Atlanta finishes. They only came in the last 2 or 3 laps. I don't know. I look back at the 2001 Cracker Barrel, whatever it was, or Harvick and Gordon. Yeah. I look through most of that race and still like what I see. But that's something I hope that the fan base doesn't lose sight of, and that the younger fan base, the younger generation that has been watching Amazon Prime the last few weeks, is aware of too, and would ask for in the right places.
Yeah, the Gen 4 races there were fantastic. The 2011 battle between Jeff and Jimmy, I think is something that's very fondly remembered. So, but they said the same thing about Bristol. Obviously Bristol has been reconfigured, and I think people have tried to go back and say, well, Bristol wasn't that great compared to what we have now. And I think there's, again, a lot of fans that would disagree with that sentiment as well. But
we had NASCAR Classics to show us that it actually was better sometimes.
Yes, yeah, more on that in my final thoughts later as well. We move on now to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, and again, stop me if you've heard this one before. Corey Heim continues to dominate in this series, leading 99, I believe, of 100 laps. I think he was just beaten to the start-finish line on a restart, and that kept him from the complete grand slam of leading every single lap, but was really in control for the entire race. But that's not the main talking point that I think a lot of fans on social media have coming out of this race, nor is it the fact that we were at a new exciting road course in a new part of the country for the first Truck Series race in the state of Connecticut. It was the fact that for Fox Sports, this was maybe not the worst broadcast that they've ever put together. Goodness knows they have produced a lot of stinkers when it comes to their Truck Series broadcast.
They've got a Hall of Fame. A Hall of Shame,
I think, is what you're looking for there, Brandon. But to be on network television, to have Mike Joy at the track and still be calling the race remotely, I think only the beginning of their problems from Saturday's broadcast. But before I get into any of my criticisms, Brandon, what were your thoughts on the product that Fox displayed on Saturday on network TV? I might reiterate.
I'll be honest with you, Ben. I when I went over to it, I kept it at low volume, and and unfortunately, that's what I feel like I have to do with the Truck Series this year. Is I find myself either with the radio call on and the TV on mute, or I've got the TV kind of low anyway, and I'll check in every now and then if I want to hear something. But not to knock anyone. I don't want to knock anybody because they're all great in their own right. Michael Waltrip, Trevor Bayne, Jamie Little, they're all great in their own right. There's just something that happens when getting together here with NASCAR on FS1 or on Fox this time with Lime Rock Park. It hasn't worked, and it definitely didn't work here at Lime Rock Park, and sometimes it really was not enjoyable and not helpful either, which is something you would hope that the TV broadcast would be able to supplement, enhance what you're seeing there on the picture, and not just be a watch party, not just a voice that's I already see that, or they all say the same thing in unison, or repeat what they just said 3 times. I think that's one thing that Brock pointed out. I think it was just from qualifying or practice. They were going over the big hill there and catching some air, and they all sort of just said the same thing in succession. But the shining part of it for me, which I guess I'm spoiling one of my wine shining moments, was Mike Joy there. I know he got limited time, but what he did was incredible, though, and it's just a little bit of his long career of just being one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, well, but to that point, Brandon, I think, and Brock said this on his stream, I think Matthew Owens, friend of the show, certainly had this sentiment as well, because we were kind of joking, like, oh, look what we made happen here, right? Because he tweeted, hey, they should send Mike Joy out there, the New England guy, and his home track and what he knows about Lime Rock, and send him out there to call the race. And they were teasing that back and forth, and we got confirmation that he was going to be there. And then we heard, oh, he's just going to do a 2-minute segment, if that, and talk about the history of the place. And
that was the biggest letdown of the week.
It was
the biggest letdown of the week, because Matthew was able to kind of break that news with Mike Joy. And so, yeah, and then we got the clarification when he said stay tuned. I was like, all right, they're doing a special thing here where they're giving the other ones a break, and Mike Joy's going to be the play-by-play here at Lime Rock. Of course, they're not actually there at Lime Rock either. That's another problem, because where is there to be there at Lime Rock? I guess there's not even grandstands, and that's just part of the history too. But
yeah, well, but somebody's got to, like, you can set something up on the hill and maybe call the race from there. I mean, it's not like the weather was bad, and we're some concerns about that. But
is it Connecticut where all the TV networks are? Or is that's just NBC Universal?
NBC
Stanford,
for sure. I don't know about the
Yeah.
others. I'm sure people have bases in New York, which is not too far away. But,
what kind of cost cutting are we talking about here?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I understand that rationale, but like you're sending Mike Joy out there anyway. You're sending Todd Bodine and Josh Sims and your ARCA reporters out there anyway. Like, you got to send a camera crew out there anyway. Like, how much money are you actually saving with whatever it is, 3, plane tickets or whatever for your play-by-play and color commentators? It just doesn't make any sense to me. But it was one thing during the pandemic when you're trying to limit as many people being in one place as possible. But I think what networks realized during that era was, okay, we have pulled this off. We can do this. We're going to try to save any money we can or cut corners anywhere we can, and we're going to continue to do this for races that we don't consider to be as high value. But again, for a race that was on broadcast Fox that surely had more casual viewers than usual tuning in, I don't know, maybe that's why they were hyper fixated on the battle for 31st between Frankie Muniz and Tony Brining for 2 laps there. I know, no disrespect to either of those 2 drivers, but they have the star power and the name recognition, but we didn't really get to see what was happening throughout the pack. I guess they're trying to just cater to the more casual viewers by showing the spotlight on those 2 names, which is understandable again, but to make such an emphasis out of it. And, again, just to not even have, I know Brock was saying this with his brother watching the race. Shout out to Last Pro as well. This is a brand new track for even some of the fans that are between the levels of casual and diehard. Like, I'm a casual sports car guy. I play video games. I know what the layout of Lime Rock was, but I imagine there were some even, strong NASCAR fans that were being introduced to this track for the first time, but had never seen it before, hadn't seen it in a long time since the K&N days.
North.
Yeah. There was no like track map or any sort of, graphics for that or anything. It just seemed like it was such the most bare bones, minimal production value you could possibly have. And again, I think you have an even greater obligation when you're at the start of a new TV deal, when you're on broadcast network TV for the first time, and then you couple that with the fact that, for whatever reason, this booth still just does not seem to be able to captivate the energy. I mean, I know it's not the easiest thing in the world, especially when you have somebody like Corey Heim that's, just so dominant and running away with it. But, again, I understand why we don't have live pit stops, but having the stage cautions and not having competitive pit stops really took an element of strategy out of this race that I think would have helped it out from that perspective, especially since we had a lot of green flag runs. So the combination of all those things really left a lot to be desired from this broadcast. And I do think it is probably the weakest broadcast that Fox Sports has put together for this series since Knoxville 2022. And that is quite a low bar that they were barely able to cross, I guess. You think that, again, as much criticism as they've gotten over the last several years, to not even be able to, hit the level that we've been accustomed to be even worse than that. Again, I don't love talking about it here, but at the same time, I feel like, there's a reason why Brock called it out. There's a reason why people were talking about it on social media on Saturday. We as fans, I think, deserve a broadcast that can show us what is happening throughout the pack and deliver the quality that we have come to expect as fans. And we're simply not getting that from people that, again, I don't want to, get personal with or call out by name, because they all have strengths of their own that I think they can contribute to what the broadcast might provide, but it's just not happening right now.
I mean, just shame on the producing crew. I mean, that are the executive producers that allow this kind of thing to happen. This is FS2 quality on national Fox platform. It just shouldn't be that way.
Brandon,
it demands more respect than that. That's for sure.
I hate to say it, Brandon. I think the FS2 quality was actually a little bit better because at least Eric Brennan was in the booth
You're right.
With
You're
Phil
right.
Larson for the ARCA race. So the ARCA race was on FS2. So
you're pulling the Eric Brennan card on me. So you already win. So.
Again, I hate to say it, but and Jamie Little is a great pit reporter, very knowledgeable, but when did she take over the ARCA broadcast? Was that 2021? I think, this is year 5 for her. I think it at a certain point, if your play-by-play continues to be this lackluster, and again, I hate saying it, but it's true. You just look on social media, it's almost universally the sentiment that, it's not a role that's working for her right now, at least with the direction that she's getting from the producers. And again, it's not all entirely on her. Like you said,
we've seen it with Adam Alexander, in my opinion. Yeah,
that are letting the booth down as well. But and again, being remote in Charlotte or wherever they are, instead of being at the track, puts you at a disadvantage right from the get-go as well. Again, especially when you're already sending people to the track, it's mind-boggling to me that they, for a race that they're going to put on Big Fox, Big Network TV, and they can't even send their broadcasters to the track. It's just incredibly frustrating.
That's not as frustrating as the CW not being able to send themselves to Charlotte, but that's another story a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, you're right. It's not just a Fox issue as well here.
Yeah, I mean, get an Uber.
Yeah,
you're there.
Honestly,
conquered.
Well, speaking of Xfinity, Denver, one of our regulars, good to see you, Denver. Should Xfinity go to Lime Rock Park? I would say I'd welcome that. I'm a bit of a local now, obviously. I wasn't able to make the trip out this year, and I don't know. I'm glad I didn't go. In hindsight, I think with how messy the ARCA race was in terms of the leaders running into trouble here, and lap traffic certainly made things interesting there at the end, but with how late that race ended, the truck race, that was the other thing from the Fox broadcast. I don't know if we ever figured out what truck was laying down oil that caused the red flag. I completely forgot about that. But Michael Waltrip was like, okay, we got to get to the bottom of this and see who that truck was. If anybody found it out, please tell me.
They got to the bottom of it. They didn't tell you though.
I don't think we heard that either. So again, that's just another example right there. But that delayed the race and delayed the start of the ARCA race. And to Fox's credit, they interviewed several ARCA drivers before the ARCA race started because they were on the air already. So credit, I'll give credit where it's due there. But again, that was on FS2. So there's another point in FS2's category there, but the Big Fox broadcast didn't have. But there's some irony for you. But yeah, I think Xfinity cars, could certainly put on a show there. I would not be opposed to them taking a look at adding that to the schedule in the coming years.
Look, it was aesthetically pleasing for the trucks to be at Lime Rock Park at a place like that, but I think other than that, the race was a stinker. I mean, Corey Heim stinking up the field. Really, other than that, I didn't care for the racing too much, and I don't know if Xfinity putting the Xfinity cars is going to make it any better. I think when my wife first saw, she was watching the truck race with me. One of the first things she said was like, "Wow, that place is too narrow. Those cars are way too big for that place." And I was like, short. Yeah, you're kind of right.
Yeah, it's a short road course. I would say, I think to use this year's truck series, I think we have to take into account obviously what we'll pull the first picture of the results back up. What Corey Heim is doing this year. I mean, it's almost unfair having him in the series. We know Tricon is giving him great equipment. He's obviously a great driver who should be racing on Saturdays, if not Sundays, at this point in his career. So I think if you brought him an Xfinity Series field with more parity, perhaps maybe you would get a better show. Although I say that, who's to say they wouldn't?
They'd bring Shane Van Gisbergen in a Junior Motorsports car.
Yeah, Colleague or Junior Motorsports would put SVP or AJ Allmendinger in an Xfinity car, and then you've got the same problem there, I guess, or Daniel Suarez for that matter, based on what he did in Mexico as well.
It would happen.
Yeah, who knows? So, but again, maybe there'd be less incentive to do that if it was a standalone weekend. Like if you brought Cup, I don't know.
Separate the tour.
Yeah. And I don't know if, like you said, Brandon, to your point, there are no grandstands there. I don't know if it's even feasible for Cup to be at Lime Rock. I think you need some facility upgrades for that. But
hey, it didn't stop AJ Allmendinger from Portland and Gateway.
Yeah, that's true. In 2022, that's right. I think Ben Rhodes practiced and qualified his car, and we were there at the Grid Network. We saw him win that race and then hop on the flight to Gateway to run the Cup race, and he wasn't even running Cup full time that year. So, you never know what might happen. But he did that at Road America next year as well in 23. So, But yeah, we'll leave it there. We'll move on to the second race of the day at Lime Rock. Congratulations to Thomas Annunziata, winning from pole and winning the race. But that does not tell the full story of his day here. Got taken out on the opening lap and spun out with Brent Cruz, but Cruz was able to recover as well up to P6. Heartbreak for Alain Day, the NASCAR Euro Series driver who's made a couple of National Series starts in the past himself. It was a miracle, really, that Day was even able to get to this race, because the Israeli driver had some issues getting back into the United States to make it back in time. So thankfully, he was able to do that and had a great opportunity to be able to potentially win in his ARCA debut. Looked to be in command of the race, much like Corey Heim was, but unfortunately made an error with the pit stop sequence during the race break that forced him to start at the tail end of the lead lap cars. He was able, as you see on the results, to get back up into second place here, but it just wasn't meant to be for him. But at the same time, we have to congratulate Annunziata on what he was able to do winning this race. And have to say, I think that 70 car might be on par with the 18 and the 28. You see Brendan Queen up there in fourth place. Not as much road course experience for that driver, but still a good run for him nonetheless. And Cruz obviously had to go through a bit of a recovery drive of his own. But you think of who's gotten in that 70 car the last 3 weeks. We had Trayton Lapsevich win and lead every lap. His first start in that car, Taylor Reimer didn't fare as well. Finished in 8th place, I believe, in her debut in that car. But now Annunziata has won here again. So I'm not sure what that says about Thad Moffitt. Obviously, Moffitt had a great run at Talladega, but it was a bit of a struggle aside from that. And Reimer as well. I know, obviously, she's still getting used to the ARCA cars on asphalt. She comes from more of a dirt racing background, so we'll see if she gets any more opportunities in that car this year. But based on what Lapsevich and Annunziata have proven, I think if you get in that 70 car for Nitro Motorsports, which has some Venturini backing as well, I think the expectation is going to be that you compete for a top 3 spot at the very least, if not fight that 18 and 28 for the win in this series. So that car's been running really well the last few weeks. Also caught on the broadcast, I didn't realize this tradition was still going on, but this is more proof of the Venturini influence. We haven't seen the kiss from Big Bill in a while on the broadcast between the front stretch interview and the pandemic, I think, but apparently that tradition is still alive as well. That was caught at the tail end of the Victory Lane interview, if you caught that on the broadcast, so you can take that for whatever it's worth here. Maybe not as popular of a look in 2025 as it might have been when that tradition was started, but that is the tradition that a winning driver in a Venturini Motorsports car has gotten a kiss from Bill Venturini over the years there. So you can take that for what it's worth again, like I said here.
Also want to note Dale Quarterly there at 9th, Isabella Robusto with the top 10.
Yeah, those two are battling all throughout as well.
Yeah, great work there. LeVar Scott, 7th. And congratulations to Jeff McConey not finishing last. I mean, really, that's a big success for them. Big journeyman driver and with the journeyman driver team, and it's good to see them have a result like that at a road course.
Yeah, I think it was a kind of a last-minute deal to put Jeff in the car for that race. I think Alex Clubb's father, Brian, was initially scheduled to run it, but I think was dealing with some fatigue and just concerns about that. They wanted to make sure that he was well rested, so they put Jeff in the car. And solid run for him there. Again, I know it may not look like it on paper, but those teams, the goals that those teams have are much different than the goals that the Venturinis and Pinnacles and Gibbses of the world have. I can tell you that much for sure. The Brad Smith article is coming again. That was a planned start and park, saving their equipment there as well. And you can stay tuned for that article in the coming days on lastcar.info. Want to say hi to a new viewer here, Billy Sellers. Hello, guys from North Carolina. First time looking in. Glad to have you here. William Byron fan, it looks like. So, again, good to see you here in the chat room. And Denver adds, one thing, if NASCAR goes back to Lime Rock, instead of having one long race, have 3 separate sprint races, might give more spice to the event. I don't know. We've seen some doubleheaders in the past, 2 shorter races. That would be an interesting concept there as well. But I guess we kind of do that with stage racing in the Truck Series now, right?
Basically, that's every weekend.
That was the only thing that kept Corey Heim from lapping the field, I think, was those stage cautions.
Was the sprints, yeah.
And
who would have to reverse the field. That would be the only new thing to do.
Yeah. And whoever was leaking oil, I don't know. Maybe it was Quarterly. He didn't fare as well in the truck race. And where did he end up? 32nd I know he wasn't running as well during the truck race, but he kind of fell out, and we never really got a follow-up on that. So maybe he was the mystery truck that had to retire with those mysterious oil issues. But
I'd say it's one of those from 30 on back. That would be a good assumption. So
probably, yeah. Well, anyway, raise Hell Orderly, praise Dale Quarterly. Much better run for him in the ARCA race there with a 9th place result. We'll see if we see him in the coming weeks here in the ARCA West race at Sonoma in 2 weeks' time. But solid run for him in ARCA nonetheless. Great to see him still out there in his early to mid-60s, putting in good performances in that series. All right, and finally, we'll take you through the F3 and F2 results here real quick from Austria. No Josh or Omi tonight, but you can pause and see where your favorite driver ended up if you follow the series. I want to say congratulations to James Wharton on winning the sprint race as we take you through the back third of those results. And then in the feature race, Martinius Stenshorn, if I can get the name out there, won the feature race. That was on a technicality. Nicholas Solov was disqualified rather, winning the race on the road. But you see on the results was sent to the back for an infringement. So that handed the win over to Stenshorn. And those are your F3 results from this past weekend. Rafael Camara still leads in the Drivers' Championship. And then over in Formula 2, congratulations to Pepe Marti on winning the sprint race. And Richard Verschoor ended up just off the podium in the sprint in 4th place, ended up winning the feature as well. And very interesting, of course, there's been conversations about this being his 5th year in Formula 2, and should there be a limit on how long drivers can stay in a series that is explicitly designed to try to be a stepping stone for Formula 1? What really are the odds of Verschoor landing an F1 drive at this point in his career? It'll be very interesting to continue that conversation if he leads the championship all the way down to the end of the year. He now has a 24-point lead. That's nearly a full feature race's worth of points. And if he keeps putting in drives like this, winning this race over Leonardo Fornaroli and the young American Jack Crawford as well. Good to see him back on the podium. But that's going to be an interesting situation to follow throughout the rest of the F2 season as well. So we'll keep our eye on that. And that's it for our race recaps this week. And Kobe brings up a great point as well. We had a serious crash in the F2 race. Thank goodness for the halo. Absolutely. Time and time again, just continuing to see that saving lives and at the very least saving catastrophic injuries. So that coming into effect this weekend as well. So that was great to see. All right. Before we go, I want to end the show tonight with a bit of an open segment here. Brandon, I know you haven't seen the movie yet, so I'm not going to spoil too much for you here. And we're going to try to do a grid roundtable on this in the coming weeks. I'm just not sure if I'm going to be able to be a part of that because I'm doing a lot of traveling in the month of July. So in case I'm not able to give my full thoughts there, I wanted to give some brief thoughts. We'll save the deep discussion for that roundtable episode, but wanted to give a quick review of F1, the movie, which dropped in theaters, I guess here in the United States on Thursday night. I think you got to see it in the UK as early as Wednesday. But my 6-word review walking out of a theater would have been to ask the following question. What if Driven were actually good? And I say that because I think there are actually a lot of similarities between what we saw in 2001 with Sylvester Stallone's film and what we're seeing here. An A-list actor in both cases with Brad Pitt, obviously. Driver far beyond the age of what we would typically see for a competitive open-wheel series. Some plot liberties that were at times just downright weird and crazy. Some crashes that were a bit over the top, namely one of JP's crashes at Monza. Seemed to combine what we saw with Alex Peroni's F3 crash a couple of years ago and Roman Grosjean's crash, obviously, at Bahrain. He seemed to take the wildest elements of those two crashes, put them together, and that was a bit interesting. But I have to say, I don't want to discourage anybody from going to see the film. I think just we have a saying in our family, like, that was a rental, right? Like, sometimes you go to see a movie and you say, we could have waited to see that, when it comes out on streaming, or we could have waited till it was in the $5 bargain bin at Walmart. Absolutely go see this movie, and go see it in IMAX if you can, because the racing cinematography, the scenes of the actual racing themselves, the feeling you get in the theater, seeing it on the big screen, that alone is worth the price of admission. If you are an F1 fan, even if you're not an F1 fan, you want to get captivated by some great action, absolutely go see it. I would give the film probably a 6.5 to 7 out of 10. I've been going back and forth on what I would rate it. So I think it was pretty good, but that rating is averaged out between a 9.5 out of 10 for the racing cinematography and a 3.5 out of 10 for the plot.
Oh no.
The plot was very messy, very predictable.
That's a shame.
Yeah, I hate to say that. But there were times where I've seen some fans were saying, the theater just went, dead silent among the non-racing fans or non-F1 fans, and they were just they couldn't help but laugh at some of the things that they were seeing, like moments that were supposed to be serious that were just completely over the top, like I mentioned. Also want to touch on this briefly as well. I think the film made an honest attempt at trying to do their part when it comes to female representation. We saw the main technical director is a woman who I think is very adamant about trying to prove her doubters wrong and very good at her job, and I think that's great. But to force her into kind of a one-night stand with the main character that Brad Pitt was playing, I think was completely unnecessary. And not to disregard the concerns that some of the critics have had about, what that means for female representation in F1 and seeing that on the big screen. But just even disregarding that for a second, not to disregard it entirely, but for the point of this conversation, I think just completely unnecessary. What did it add to the film that was already 2.5 hours long? You just gave us kind of 10 minutes extra of screen time that I think really didn't contribute much, was just kind of there for the sake of being there and adding a subplot that didn't go anywhere, that was never going to go anywhere.
It's not a Bond movie.
Yeah, it felt. Yeah, that's. I've seen people make that comparison as well. It felt like a Bond movie in some ways. Also, one of the mechanics, there was a young female mechanic as well, and how they introduced her. Bumping into a couple of people in the paddock, and she's the one that makes the mistake in one of the first races, as I think it was JP running over an air hose, and again, just you can kind of understand why that might not be a very popular move to portray a character like that in that sense. And again, this just goes back to the plot being very predictable. She gets her act together as the film goes on, and then is a part of a very strong pit stop that's key in one of the later races to the Apex GP team's success. So again, film probably could have done a better job over there. So I understand why a lot of people in the racing industry have given it poor reviews. I think, if you go over to Deadline or Variety or Rotten Tomatoes, you're seeing it's certified fresh, right? It's a summer blockbuster and people are really excited to go see it. When you go to Autosport, you go to Racer Magazine, you go to, sites like that primarily cover racing from a journalistic background, and they're here talking about the movie and giving their reviews, probably not going to be as universally well received. So, that's I think unfortunate. And again, I think if you're a race fan going to see it, absolutely, I don't want anybody suffering from FOMO, for lack of better terms. I think it is absolutely worth buying a ticket for. But again, you do kind of have to turn your brain off, so to speak, because otherwise you're going to notice some inaccuracies. And the final word I'll just say on that is, my attitude going into this, I think, was the fact that this is telling an original story, right? They took some references. I think Brad Pitt's character is kind of based on Martin Donnelly and the career-ending crash that he had in real life. So there are elements that they take from the real world. Obviously, they were shooting it at real life Grand Prix races. I think I am more okay with creative liberties when you're telling an original story from scratch, more so than I was in Ford versus Ferrari, for example. As much as I love that film, when you're trying to tell a true story, rather, I would like you to try to stay true to that story that you're basing your film upon as much as possible. So I understand it from that perspective for a movie like this, but because of that, I think the counter to that would be you are telling an original story. You have so much you could choose from, any infinite number of plot lines that you could write and develop for the big screen. And the fact that this was the best they could do, just kind of feeding into all sorts of cliches and predictable moments, I was left a little disappointed by that. I'm not going to lie. But again, that's why I said, what if Driven were actually good? I think Driven is just so far ridiculous that, we didn't have anybody picking up quarters on hot laps. That we didn't have any of that here. So you don't have to worry about that. And I don't think Brad Pitt is going to have regret any regrets about making this movie in 10 years like Sylvester Stallone does with Driven. So from that perspective, it's absolutely a good movie. I'm not, again, cannot emphasize it enough. Absolutely worth going to see. Bring your friends from the motorsports world. Bring your friends who have no interest in the sport and just are looking for a good summer blockbuster. From that perspective, it's great. But from an F1 fan's perspective, there are probably some things that are going to leave you a little bit disappointed, but left a lot to be desired, which again is unfortunate, but also perhaps understandable given that it is Hollywood and they were going to make some of those decisions here. So, again, I think, a lot could have been better about it, but I'm glad I went to go see it, and we could still encourage everybody to go see it for themselves and form their own opinions. And if it doesn't exactly match the opinion that I have or what I took away from the film, then that's perfectly fine, whether you like it more than I did or not as much as I did. I think there's going to be something in there, hopefully, that you enjoy. But again, whatever you rate the film, your mileage may vary based on what you look to take out of it.
Well, based on that opinion, I think I might skip the IMAX and just hopefully it'll show up here at our local town square theater, and hopefully we can just catch it there. But yeah, looking forward to catching it if it does show up here. And Denver brings up Days of Thunder 2, and he says it should be filmed with Cup drivers and have the authentic feel of the NASCAR culture. That one, I don't know if it's still in the rumor mill or it has been like a full on, yes, it's happening. But I know that like Jeff Gordon and Rick Hendrick are once again going to be, if it does happen, involved with it, and Tom Cruise, Jerry Bruckheimer, the whole 9 yards. And yeah, I do agree with you, Denver. I hope if they decide to roll through with that they will be true to life with current NASCAR Cup Series garage culture today.
Yeah, I think some heavy rumors about Days of Thunder 2, and I think I just saw from Culture Crave on social media, I think linking to hit from Variety, they're already considering a sequel for this movie. Some people are saying maybe get Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt on screen together and do some sort of a crossover, which would be kind of interesting. I don't know.
What if you called it F2?
F2. Well,
it's all about F2.
I did see
there has to go back down the ladder.
There were some people saying, because Fantastic Four is coming out this month, or it's not quite July yet. It's still June 30th. I should know that. It's not like it's my birthday or anything. People were making a joke like when Fantastic Four comes out at the end of July, we're going straight from F1 to F4 and skipping F2 and F3. I don't think you could call it F2 though. I think you'd have to come up with a more creative sequel name there.
He owns a team. It's in F2. That's the plot.
Maybe. Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Like they steal the Cars 3 plot and they make F2.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I will say, I was spoiled because again, product placement is one of the inevitable parts of this film as well. But T-Mobile, I think, was one of the main sponsors of this Apex GP fictional F1 team. T-Mobile has this rewards app called T-Life for T-Mobile customers, and every Tuesday they come out with new promotions. And one of the promotions this week was $5 tickets to go see F1 the movie, and IMAX screenings qualified. So I got tickets to IMAX for $5 through T-Mobile. I don't know if they're still running that promotion, but if you have T-Mobile, you can check that out and
check on that. Yeah,
get a deal there. But yeah, and again, Brandon, if you can see it in IMAX, I would still recommend it, just because of the theatrical experience there. I think is really the best part of this movie here. But still, go see it in theaters if you can. I know Kobe's here in the chat saying he's probably going to wait until it comes out to streaming. Don't really watch many movies anyway, so I haven't seen Gran Turismo. Loved Rush though. Yeah, I think Rush is still the gold standard. I can't quite say. It was better, certainly better than Driven. I was just praying I'm not going to come away with an experience like I was a couple months ago when I watched Talladega Nights for the first time. Far more enjoyable than that, in my opinion.
Hey, that's good in its own way.
Yeah,
I've seen Gran Turismo though. Yeah,
for some people, it's good.
I managed to see Gran Turismo on stream, and I never played Gran Turismo, and I don't like some parts of that arcade racing culture, and so some of that was just very cheesy to me. But overall, I think it was a fairly okay racing movie for what it was worth, and
Sure.
all the product placement and everything that went into it.
Yeah, well, but again, I think that's just kind of par for the course for any racing movie with sponsorship. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's been a box office hit, so I'm sure there are going to be talks about. I mean, you see how well Elio's doing it at the theaters right now for Pixar, right? I mean, they say they want original movies, and then they make them, and everybody just goes to see the sequels or the next installment of the franchise or whatever. So the fact that this was the rare original movie that did very well or is doing very well, on track to do very well, I'm sure they're going to continue to look at how they can continue to milk that for a potential sequel. But we'll keep our eye on that for the future.
Also, off the wall rumor, I've seen that Disney, I don't know if this is true or not, that Disney is trying to go back to 2D animation in the future. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
But anyway, that we'll leave that there.
Yeah. Well, that would be pretty cool, I think. But yeah. All right. Well, we'll leave the F1 review there. Brandon, I'll let you take it away here. What was your one shining moment from the weekend in motorsports?
Got a few. Got to spotlight the Xfinity Series rain delay with the CW, and I think Kim Kuhn, Dylan Welch, and Carlo Metz as a trio there working in the media center, and they were kind of rotating around with they almost interviewed every single driver, and that kind of on the spot talent on display was very impressive. So I wanted to shout out that whole team there on pit road with the CW. Excellent work, and just being able to have something in the database, in the brain database for every driver they came across, was able to ask them all something, and that went on for like 40 minutes or so. It felt like it was just a long time. Also, Alan Cavana finally getting back in front of the camera with TNT Sports did a fantastic job from pit road. It's been a long time coming, and good to see him back on that side, although he's been doing great work with Performance Racing Network. And then finally, Mike Joy, the improv he did there at Lime Rock Park deserves a one shining moment, I think, as well, because it was so, in true Mike Joy fashion, it was so good. You thought you would have thought it was on a teleprompter, but he's just that natural when it comes to not just racing in general, but just racing in the Northeast and historic racing, sports car racing. He is a wealth of knowledge, and the way he's able to give tidbits and facts, he is a Hall of Famer, destined to be a Hall of Famer, and not enough can be said about the likes of Mike Joy.
Yeah, absolutely. Second that there, and second the fact that he should be in the Hall of Fame. I know Matthew Owens would agree with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, that is certainly kind of took mine there with Mike Joy. It was great to see him for the couple of minutes that we did. I wish he could have been calling the race. Yeah. But I guess I'll take another easy one here, and I'll just give a quick shout out again to Nick Sanchez as well. I know that Big Machine Racing team has been through quite a string of emotions over the last several months, coming so close so many times, and to get the job done now with their new driver, Nick Sanchez, and for him to get to victory lane, that's a shining moment for sure. So that's going to be my answer, and that's going to be our show for tonight. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms, X/Twitter, Threads, or Blue Sky, whatever microblogging platform you're on these days. Grid Network is on all three at Grid Network TV. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, LinkedIn, most importantly, right here on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and visit our website at gridnetworktv.com. If you really liked what you saw tonight, you can join these fine folks on screen here and help invest in the Grid Network through Patreon. Join Colin, Michelle, Mark, Robin, David, and Matthew in helping us expand our coverage throughout 2025 and beyond. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can also become a member through our YouTube channel, or if you'd rather make a one-time contribution to us instead, again, on YouTube, you can use the Super Chat or Super Thanks features as well, or you can visit the Buy Me a Coffee link in our description box below. Any amount helps us continue to grow what we're trying to build here at this motorsports media outlet. Now, looking ahead at our upcoming schedule, Kobe will be back on the air this week with Josh Birch and Matt White on Grid Tonight, so don't miss that. We continue our new pre-race show format for 2025. NASCAR coming up on a couple of road courses, road and street courses, I guess I should say, with Chicago coming up. Women in Motorsports is hopefully going to be back this week. We tried to get a taping in last week. Unfortunately, the timing just didn't work out for all of us. Isha Bajwa also had a birthday this past Friday as well. So happy birthday to her. A couple of birthdays here at the Grid Network in the last few days. And Grid Live will be back this weekend, of course, as well. And then we'll see you right back here on a little more than 167-hour break for the Encore show next Monday night. Brandon, any final thoughts before we sign off for the evening?
Yeah, happy Canada Day to all of our Canadian friends tomorrow, July 1st, and then happy Independence Day, of course, this weekend here in the United States. Hope everyone enjoys time with their family if you're able, and has a great, safe weekend. And also the Chicago Street Course this weekend, and might be the last one as we look around at new options. So I just really hope there's some sunshine, and gonna be able to talk to Mike Bagley about that this week. And he was the one I got to talk to when we first started the Chicago Street Course, when he had that one turn there with NBC. I don't know if he has anything going on with TNT, but certainly we'll be there with MRN. So curious to see what he thinks about possibly the last year with the Chicago Street Course, and also IndyCar with the Mid-Ohio weekend, I believe. So going to be a fantastic time all around.
Yeah, great to see. You're going to post that interview to your YouTube channel afterward? Yeah, right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Brandon has a YouTube channel too. I don't know if we do a good enough job of plugging that these days.
It sits there anyway, and whenever I have some interview that goes on the radio, I'll throw it on there.
Yeah, you might as well. We want you to subscribe to us, subscribe to me. You might as well subscribe to Brandon as well while you're at it, right? So make sure you don't miss that interview. That'll be coming this week as well here. I just want to say again, thank you all for the birthday wishes here. And what a day for me, huh? We get confirmation, WNBA coming to Philly starting in 2030, EA Sports reviving the college basketball video game.
In 2030. Sorry,
probably,
I had to do it.
I think it's probably going to be 2028 at the year list. I think Kobe was telling me that.
Oh, sorry. WNBA Philly is 2030.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm messing up your thing. Go ahead.
That's fine. It might be 20. I would rather them take their time building a good game than to rush it out. But it's coming back eventually. We'll stay tuned for that. And then the real cherry on top, the 1996 Nazareth Speedway Craftsman Truck Series race. I thought that was going to be lost media forever. It never aired on CBS like it was supposed to because there was a weather delay. It only aired on tape delay on TNN, I think at 9 p.m. a few days later, and then 1 a.m. after that. We've been waiting for somebody who was potentially taping the entirety of TNN's lineup to maybe upload that tape. Never thought it would see the light of day. Shout out to NASCAR Classics. I have no idea how they found that. I thought the tape was probably just locked in the TNN vault at this point. They were probably the only ones, but they found it somehow, and they uploaded it to the NASCAR Classics website. So that is an insane find for lost media and for NASCAR fans in particular. So well done to NASCAR Classics. Probably the greatest thing that NASCAR has been doing in recent years is making sure all of that original full race footage has been archived in one place, and we are so grateful for that. So I know what I'm doing later tonight and the rest of this week. I'll see how much of the race I can get through this evening here, but it'll be fun to finally watch something that hasn't been seen anywhere for 29 years. So well done, NASCAR Classics. We appreciate you. For Brandon Crossland, I'm Ben Schneider. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time right here on the Grid Network.